Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm actually glad that you're here and you've been watching the videos. That means you find value in them. So I'm actually glad to welcome you back. So for today, we'll be talking about things that you should be doing post the harvest that you, after harvesting. You know, the harvesting we did in December, it was quite a lot of some work. Most of you would notice harvesting is not for the faint-hearted. And basically, coffee farming. So we should be showing up in our farms like bosses because it's the work that we do, it's the thing that we do for a living. So just to begin with, most African coffee farmers are working very hard, but still struggling financially. That's for sure. And the painful truth, it's not because coffee is unprofitable. Farmers in Kenya, even Rwanda, Ethiopia are growing some of the world's best coffee. But why is it a hassle? Yet many are still selling at low prices. You know the $400 that you get, or the $300 that you get for a sack of 50 kg or a 60 kg of washed coffee. I think everybody should be getting more than that. Basically, because of the input is very expensive and everybody deserves a higher pay. Farmers should be more rewarded because they go through the hassle of the work, the work and the input, and there are no subsidies as far as I'm concerned. Because they are farming for yield instead of farming for premium markets. Today, I am going to show you the exact systems profitable farmers use to increase quality, attract better buyers, and win consistently, not occasionally. If you're serious about turning your coffee farm into a profitable business, watch this video until the end. Let's start with the first mistake most farmers make, then continue with your existing section with other sections. You have to be able to plant the right variety based on the altitude where you are, based on your location. For example, people who are closer to Mount Kenya cannot be planting the same coffee that people in lower altitude areas could be planting, yeah. So in Kenya there are basically couple varieties, but the ones that are most popular are SL28, SL34 Batian, and Riri 11. I would by all means go for SL. Is good for like the yield, but the work is susceptible to diseases, as we all know. But if you want, for me, I would go for Batian and Riri 11, and mostly Batian because it is still going to give me a high yield if I feed it very well. The other thing you should think about when you're thinking of what to plant is something that is resistant to diseases in your area, has export demand, and winning begins before you even put the seed on the ground. Soil health, your soil is your bank account. For example, how many of you have done soil testing? In January, at the beginning of a new season, be it for you should be January in Kenya. How many of you have done soil testing, and how many of you have done it right? Because some people just go and pick soil sample from the topsoil and then take it to for testing, and that's not the right way to do it. If you want to know how to do soil testing, send me comment on this video and I'll send you a detailed way of, even if it's a comment, I'll send you a detailed way of doing soil testing. You can't just pick the topsoil and and think that you've done it right. It won't work that way. It should have a pH of 5 to 5, 5.5 to 6.5. And again, use compost manure. By now, things you should have done in January are: one, pruning; two, gotten your compost manure; and three, because it has been a little drier than normal, mulching. and then clearing all the weeds in the farm so that you kill all the diseases. And also because I don't know whether you guys use foliar. I've been using foliars to sustain the the leafy green, to feed the plant from the leaves basically. And also you can do copper. I do copper once a month to avoid those diseases, to keep them away, the leaf rust and things like those. Um, Healthy soil produces bigger beans, higher yields, better cap scores. Again, if you don't know which what chemical you need to use, the one that is user friendly and it's allowed for coffee, just comment. I'll send you a list of what you can buy and how to even use it. Most of them have a writing, and they have directions on how to use it and when to use it. You can basically create your own calendar. You don't have to wait for someone to create the calendar for you. Don't worry about what people are doing. If you just follow these videos and listen to what I'm saying, by the end of the year, you will have mastered your own farm, your own way, and you will create your own calendar. Pruning, many farmers lose money because they fear cutting trees, but you need to prune to improve airflow, reduce diseases, increase cherry size, um, remove weak branches annually. Discipline in pruning is equals to income. If you have those tertiary branches, those need to come out, especially if your plant is about 3 4 years. Tertiaries need to come out. If you're doing single stem, then your plant just needs to have a single stem all the way. You should just have those secondaries, and that's it. No, basically primaries, and that's it. Disease prevention, coffee leaf rust and coffee berry disease can destroy your farm in one season. So, as I said earlier, there are those chemicals that you need to apply because you're not in the harvesting season anyway. You can use many. There are several, depends on your pocket and how much you can actually afford. But if you need to know which one, just comment. I'll send you a list of what you need to buy. Spray preventatively. Don't wait for 3 months so that you can go apply the chemical, because then you already have the coffee leaf rust. You will already have the coffee berry disease or even the dieback. And again, I forgot to mention, if you're using scissors in one farm, don't use the same scissors in another farm, or don't even share with your neighbor, because you don't know what your neighbor is carrying, whether they have diseases in their farm. Might just spread to your farm too. Okay, use integrated pest control. I've discussed this in other videos, so if you go to this channel videos, you'll be able to see that. Maintain spacing between trees. I've also discussed that in some techniques that will help you win in coffee farming. And then, so if you want to be a winner in this game, you have to focus all the way to harvesting. Once you get to the harvesting part, make sure you're harvesting fully red cherries, and this is where you're gonna lose it. If you harvest cherries that are not fully ripe, or they're overripe, or they're green, just know the capping will be bad. It will ruin you. It will ruin your quality, and all the work you've done in the whole year will just go into waste. And your price will go lower, will be low than you know you wish it could be. The post-harvesting process is what separates commodity farmers from specialty farmers. Choose wisely. Okay, there's the washed, which is gives the clean, bright acidity. That's the most common that we do in Kenya, and that's what is popular in the U.S. market. Most people use drink the washed, because most coffee comes from Brazil and places, Venezuela, wherever, and it's all washed. The natural coffee mostly comes from Ethiopia, and it's good. Yeah, I hope they cut that nonsense of tariff. It's fruity and wine like, high reward, high risk. And there is also honey process. There are those people in Kenya who process honey. They have their own market wherever they sell their coffee. It's sweet and balanced. It has the fermentation time is different. Clean water, drying 10 to 12 moisture. You kind of have to go do your own research on what you want to do with your coffee and how much time you have to do all these things. If you want to do the honey processed or the natural coffee, you have to know how much sunlight do you have in your area. Yeah. And also if the washed coffee, how much, you need clean, sparkling water. If you get water from the river and it's not good enough, clean enough, it's gonna give it, bad taste. Poor drying leads to mold. Mold leads to rejection. You kind of have to dry your coffee very well. Keep turning it until it's very well done. Stop selling like a commodity farmer. If you only sell to middlemen, those people who show up in your farm from Uganda or from wherever, and you sell to them, they just, you've basically worked for somebody else, and you're gonna do the same cycle every year. You're gonna suffer the whole year, growing coffee, and then somebody else is just gonna come and take your profit just like that. Yeah. Avoid doing such things. Winning farmers, build relationships with exporters, partner with roasters, develop a farm story. The global specialty market wants traceable and impact, not coffee from nowhere. Sell quality per story, and that equals premium prices. Show up with a business mindset. It's not just growing coffee. Times are gone when people used to think farming is for their grandmothers and grandfathers. No, it's not. That's not the case. Yield per tree. You have to track the yield per tree. You have to control yield per tree. You have to track all this cost per kilogram and the loss percentage and your capping score. If you don't measure it, you cannot improve it. Okay, so winning in coffee farming is not about luck, it's about systems that you can develop on your own. You know your farm better than your neighbor. I know my farm better than anybody else. You have to have systems, discipline, quality, market knowledge, and what else? Yeah, we produce the best coffee in Africa. So let's win consistently, and we must win. We must farm intentionally. If this video helped you, subscribe for more practical strategies to increase your coffee income, and comment below. What is the biggest challenge on your farm right now? Let's build profitable African coffee together. See you later.